Hi everyone, this is Darcy Jiho. I am going to just double check really quickly before we get started and just make sure that we're live in Facebook. And we are live. So, hi everyone. Like I said, this is Darcy Jiho, and we're live here today in the Small Business Marketing and Motivation group. I have a guest here with me today, and we're really excited to share some tips with you today. We're going to be actually talking about goal setting strategies and productivity tips for the upcoming holiday season. And a lot of what we talk about is actually going to be applicable to your whole year, but we're going to talk a few things specifically about the upcoming holiday season too. So I'm going to introduce my guest today. So we have Rebekah Lara with us here today. She is the owner of Rebekah Lara Virtual Solutions and a mother of 3 daughters with special needs. So she knows what it's like to have a hectic, stressful life and trying to run a business. So she's learned how to overcome these challenges, and she's going to share with us today some of the things that she's learned. And she also enjoys helping other small businesses figure out their processes and streamline things and save time and money in their business. So I'm excited to have her here with us today. And I'm going to let her kind of introduce herself and share some things. And then we're just going to have kind of a casual conversation today with you guys. Thanks, Rebekah.
Thanks, Darcy. I appreciate it. I'm really happy to be here. So thank you for allowing me to speak for a little bit. Again, like Darcy said, I am a mom to 3 young girls. They all have some medical needs, some special needs. So life, like she said, can be hectic at times. In fact, just before coming on here, I had to do an impromptu doctor visit, telehealth. So there's on my way. But I have learned over the years to roll with it and learn how to simplify and calm the chaos that my life became. And as I started my own blog and eventually my own business, that became even more important because I needed to juggle not only my family's needs, which can be very extreme at times, with my own personal and business needs. For a long time, I didn't do that well. And so my goal a couple of years ago was to focus on that, not only for self-care, but also I wanted to not just survive, but I wanted to start thriving and meeting my own goals to not only help myself, but my family in the long run. So I started a blog in January of 2019. And at first, like I said, it was kind of like for self-care, just an outlet for me, something else to focus on. My oldest daughter had just recovered from multi-organ failure, in fact, the year before. So we were coming off a very stressful year, to say the least. And so it was just time for me to focus on something creative. So that's how it started. And over time, the more I learned, I became more interested in making a business for myself. And I started doing some blog coaching with a business coach, and that turned into virtual assistants. I started helping her, and it kind of snowballed. So then I kind of pivoted my business, and I started helping business owners streamline, organize, save time, and just help them with the behind the scenes processes of their business, also some content planning, and a whole bunch of things, really. So,
and you actually have a Facebook group where you help people through some of those things too, right?
Yes. So most recently I started that Facebook group because in my other coaching program, my coach doesn't focus on those skills. She is more of a mindset coach and a bigger picture coach. And a lot of the people in that group were asking for this type of help because a lot of bloggers and small business owners or online business owners were struggling with the behind the scenes because no one really has ever taught them how to organize digitally or plan efficiently, focus, streamline, because they're all juggling things like we all are, whether you're a mom or you work a 9-to-5 or, you have other, jobs or projects that you need to worry about, but you have this side business that you're trying to grow as well. And so everything was becoming overwhelming for this group that I was working in. And so I saw the need, you know, and I decided, well, I have learned the hard way how to overcome these challenges. And I wanted to start sharing. So I did. I started sharing in that group, and then I created my own Facebook group to kind of be able to focus on it more. And it's, you know, it's a totally free Facebook group, and I just like sharing what I know because I've been overwhelmed. I've been stressed. You know, I still am at times, of course. I'm not perfect, but I just like sharing those tips with others so that we can all kind of calm the chaos. That's the name of my group, Calm the Chaos, and it helps you organize your business and streamline. So Darcy asked me to come on today to kind of share some of these tips as we're all going into the holiday season. Obviously, things get even more hectic than they normally are, which sometimes it's hard to believe that can happen. But with the new year coming up soon too, a lot of people are starting to think about goals. And what I find a lot is that everyone wants to wait until January. Well, that's for next year, you know, I'll focus on that next year. But I feel, why not get a head start on all that? And if you can get started today, simplifying, organizing, and setting goals, then you'll be, you know, ahead of the game by January, and you can just take off. So
it's funny that you say that, actually, because I recently decided, and I'll talk about this a little bit more in a little bit, but I recently decided to kind of revert back to a paper planner. And the planner I ordered has these dividers that you can decide what month you want to start, and then you fill in the numbers yourself. And so you can start in March or July or whenever you want. So I had this brand new planner sitting in front of me, and it was like October 30th. And I was like, okay, gosh, should I start it in November? It feels really weird to start a new planner in November, you know, or should I save it? Should I save it for January? And I decided to start it in November for exactly the reasons you said. So that's great. Oh, I think we froze.
Sorry.
There you are.
I think I froze. I'm back. Sorry.
You're back.
So we also have remote learning happening in my household, and so I have 3 kids on Zoom calls right now. So technical problems always.
Testing that internet today.
Yes, always. So yeah, I agree with you. Like, it feels weird sometimes to start planning mid-year or at the end of the year, but something that I've learned that's helped me is breaking it up. Like, you don't have to think about the whole year always. You can break it up into 90-day chunks, like quarterly goals. That's what I do. I try to set those 90-day overall big goals. And then from there, because that can still be kind of overwhelming at times, like, break it down. So I prefer to then look at each month. So we just started November, not too late to think about your monthly goals. Break it down from there. Try to think of what are the steps I need to get to my main goal. So if you're a blogger, perhaps your goal is to write, I don't know, 25 blog posts by the end of the year, right? So that can seem daunting. You're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get that done? But if you break it down into monthly goals and then weekly goals, it seems less overwhelming, right? So every month, maybe write 10 to 12 blog posts and then break that down. So what does that mean per week? That's, you know, what, 2 to 3 maybe. And as you break those goals down, like, at least for me, I don't feel as overwhelmed. It seems more achievable and doable. And you can even break it down further than that. So what I try to teach people is how to kind of plan their week, focus on 3 main things. Okay, and you can do this daily, 3 main things, or weekly, 3 main things. But sometimes when you're a blogger or a business owner, the list of tasks is like 100 items long, right? And I see people spinning their wheels, getting caught up in the overwhelm of like, how am I going to get all of this done? So what I started doing this summer, because my kids were home from, you know, no school was happening, I just started simply in a bullet journal, sorry, there we go, just writing 3 to 4 things each day that I was going to do. Was there more to do than that? Of course, but at least if I could get those 3 or 4 things done, I would feel like I accomplished something and wouldn't feel as stressed and like I was never getting anywhere. Plus, I'm also the kind of person that likes filling in the boxes or checking things off, because then later I can look back and be like, I actually did get something done. And in my schedule with kids, 3 kids at home, especially now remote learning, they're all home with me. I might not have big chunks of time to get things done. And so I feel like I don't want to sit down and have 30 minutes to actually get something done and have to think about what do I have to do. Like, I want it to be already figured out so I can just look at the list. Okay, what is something I can accomplish in 30 minutes? And then just start doing it, so I'm not wasting that time. And then, like I said, at the end of the day, I can always refer back to this list, figure out what else is my top priority for the day, and get it done before I go to bed. And also look back at it and say, actually, I did get something done today, even though it felt like I didn't. So those are my biggest tips for focusing and just kind of streamlining things. The next day, you can start your day off by, breaking out your planner or your bullet journal. I have some other productivity tips for other ways you can do this, which we can talk about. But this is the simplest version. Just get a notebook and start with that. And in the morning, you can look at your day and decide what are the next 3 things that are going to help me get toward my 90-day goal, right? So things that aren't time wasters, scrolling social media, try to think about the things that are going to get you to your 90-day goal. Obviously, a lot of us, we want to make revenue. So what are the revenue moving tasks? And those are what you want to focus on. And sorry, just to relate that back to the holidays, things are going to get a little bit busier. And even if you can only get 1 or 2 things done during the holiday season, you're still going to be making progress and making steps forward, right? So this can apply any time of the year, but especially during the holidays.
I agree. I think that's
so Darcy and I also have.
Sorry, Rebekah, go ahead.
Okay, froze up again. Darcy and I also had some other productivity tips that can help streamline your business that we wanted to share with you that can help. You can start testing out at the end of this year and see what system works best for you. Obviously, we're going to give you some options today, and some may work for you, some may not, and that's the same process I went through. But we'll try to talk about what features we like best so that you can make an educated decision. Do you have anything to add, Darcy, before I move on?
Nope, okay, I don't think so. You're doing good.
All right. So a couple of programs that I have learned to love and have helped me streamline my planning process beyond the notebook or the bullet journal is AirTable and Asana are the 2 that I'm mainly using. And I've gotten a lot of experience working with other clients in my virtual assistant business because a lot of different businesses will use different project management tools. So I've gotten to test a lot and find out which ones work for me the best. And AirTable, I really enjoy because I can batch create content and organize it and plan it out for a whole month. So I did a demo for this in my Facebook group on using AirTable for content planning, such as social media, even blog post writing, anything where you want to schedule out and plan a chunk of content. I try to do it monthly, and I do that also for clients. So say someone has hired me to create content and graphics for social media like Facebook and Instagram. In AirTable, I can write all my content, I can upload my graphics, schedule the date it's going to go out, and I can see it all in a table format, kind of like a spreadsheet, but also a calendar view, which is really helpful to see visually to make sure you have all your days covered. It's been really helpful, and you can copy and paste things and move them around as you need to really easily, so you can shift your social media planning as you need to. You can copy it. If you write it for Facebook, you can copy the whole thing down and do it for Instagram and add your hashtags in or whatever else might be a little different for each platform. So I found that to be a huge time saver because I can batch out a whole month of content, in a session and be done. And I know it's done, it's organized, I know how to schedule it later easily, and I'm not scrambling. I know Darcy uses a similar system with Trello. Is that right, Darcy?
I do. Yeah, I actually use Trello for everything that I do. So I use Trello for all of my task management and to-do lists and things like that. And then I also use Trello for my content planning. Actually, after I watched some of your Airtable training, I'm considering potentially switching over to Airtable because I kind of had to create the way I wanted it to work in Trello, which is part of what's so cool about Trello is it's got a lot of flexibility and you can really set it up the way you want. Some of you have seen, I actually have a Trello training series in the units of the group here. And one of the days I did share how I do my content planning in there. But yeah, after seeing how Airtable works with the content planning, it really does seem a little bit more like they created Airtable a little bit more for that, whereas Trello is just, Trello just lets you do it yourself or whatever, if that makes sense. So anyway, I do use Trello for my content planning, and I do like the way that it works. But yeah, like kind of what we're talking about today, everything works different for different people. So it's always nice to know what other options are there. But the other thing I use Trello for is my task planning. So I've actually recently kind of changed how I'm doing that. So in Trello, if you guys aren't familiar, you basically set up boards, and so each board is sort of like think about it like a whiteboard or whatever, and you can put things related to that category in the board. So, for example, I had a board for my lifestyle blog, and I had a board for my Digital Darcy company. I had a board for this group. I had a board for education. I have all these different boards. And so along the way, I would create all these tasks with these due dates, and I was sort of just assigning random due dates to things, and they were on all these boards. And so to see everything in one place, I had to go to this main screen. And I just found that I was switching around all the different boards a lot throughout the day, and I was moving due dates around because I didn't really have a plan. And I was just spending, like you said, I might have 30 minutes to work on something, and I was spending 30 minutes in Trello playing around basically. So so recently what I did is kind of reorganized a lot of my boards, and I've got now just one to-do board. So whether it's something I want to get done for myself or my clients or future projects or anything, I've moved it all to one board. And then within that board, I create a different list. So I'm actually doing my planning kind of on a 6-week basis right now. So I have a list for this week, and all the tasks that have to get done this week go in this week's list. And then I have a list for next week and 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now, etc. So as I receive, work from clients or think of things that I have to do 3 weeks from now or whatever, I just move those tasks into those lists. And I'm not actually assigning any due dates to any of those things in Trello anymore because I'm reverted to a paper planner. And I'll talk a little bit more about the paper planner in a little bit, but basically what I'm trying to say is, sometimes you realize what you're doing isn't working. And so some of the flexibility of these programs is really helpful because you can just kind of take a step back. And Rebekah actually helped me. We had a meeting together, and she looked at how I was doing it, and we kind of talked through some of the problems I was having. And then based on some of the things we talked about, I finished kind of moving things around. And so, that's what's kind of nice about some of these tools is you can just make them work for you and change things around as needed. So,
yeah, that's great. I mean, it's a great point that it's okay to stop and try a new system if it's not working. Sometimes people feel like, well, I've invested time in organizing it in Trello or in Airtable or whatever, and they feel hesitant to switch. But if it's not working, not working. It's okay. It's
right.
It's a good thing to try a new system until you find one that works best for you. And on the topic of task management, when you're juggling even more tasks than your 3 a day that you're writing in your notebook, I found that Asana for me has been great, not only if you're working on a team, like it is a team management type project management software, but even for a solopreneur, it's good when you have different categories of work that you might be doing or different projects. You can color code things, and it's kind of a blend of Trello because you can do things in board style like Trello works. You can also switch the view and see it in list form, and you can see it in calendar form. So depending on what visually works best for you, I like that it's flexible that way. You can assign due dates to it, and like you said, Darcy, you can also just have lists running of like future projects with no due date on them. So that's kind of a nice blend between Trello and Airtable, and allows you to collaborate with other people if you need to. So yeah, I really like that one a lot. And the other thing I was going to mention is, I should have mentioned this earlier when I was talking about planning and focusing, but I have also found Google Calendar to be very helpful in time blocking. And Darcy's going to talk about this, I think, a little bit with her paper planner. But for me, with kids at home, things change, like I said, a lot. Like we had a doctor's appointment pop up out of nowhere. So for me, the paper planner didn't work. I did try it. For me, I need something that I can move things around easily. So Google Calendar helps me. I am able to start my time blocking, and I did a whole training on this in detail with screen share as well if you're interested. But the overview of it is that you can obviously schedule in your appointments and other things outside of your business that you need to work around. And then within Google Calendar, you can then block out time for when you're going to work. Like some people call it their office hours. So you might have, 2 hours in the morning and 3 hours in the evening if you have like a full-time other job, 9 to 5. Or you can. Did I freeze again?
Just a little bit.
Okay, I'm back. Or you can block out little chunks of time in between other appointments. And my blogging coach always says this, and it sticks in my head. She says, Google Calendar is the boss of me. And she means that once it's written in there, she doesn't allow herself to negotiate like, oh, maybe I'll do this later instead, or I can move this. Yes, I do like the flexibility of moving things, but once you put it into Google Calendar, like let it be the boss of you. If it says I'm working from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., like don't negotiate with yourself, just follow it, take that drama out of the picture, and set your office hours, and that will help you get more done too, right? Because I know at the end of the day, at least for me, I'm tired and sometimes I can talk myself out of doing those projects, but I find that if I schedule it in Google Calendar, and just train myself to, I'm just like any other client I'm working for, and I'm going to work for my business too, and I'm going to get this chunk done, and then I can relax. So I think Darcy uses a paper planner now in a similar way.
I do. Yeah, and that's such a great point too about making sure your own stuff gets done. That's one of my biggest struggles. It's actually part of the reason you guys haven't seen me live very much here lately in the group is because I always do all my client work first, which I think everybody does. But getting your own work done is important too. And that's as we talk about holiday stuff, I actually had a note here too to kind of mention personal things as well, because I think it's important as you're planning those weeks out, whether you're looking at the month or 6 weeks or 90 days or whatever, it's important to keep in mind the personal things that you want to get done too, because everything takes time. And I don't know about everybody else, but I know for me, I always end up doing just one thing or just two things on a Saturday or a Sunday. So if we're going to work on the weekend, why can't we take some personal time during the week? I mean, that's kind of part of the beauty of having your own business is that if you need some time, you can take it. So, don't forget to plan for those personal things too, even if it's the middle of the workday. But yeah, so I started using this paper planner. This is actually the first week I'm using it. So my pages aren't beautiful, but this is what it looks like. So you can see that it's blocked out from I mean, it's got time slots in there from 8 a.m. to I think 8 p.m. or something. So how I'm using it is, I mentioned I made the list for each, like for this week in Trello on my to-do board. So on Sunday night, I looked at everything I knew that I wanted and needed to get done this week in Trello. And then I looked at first, the first thing, of course, you want to block out is your appointments that have specific times that have to be done at that time. And then due dates of things that have to be done at a certain day that you promised to the client or whatever. And so you write all those in your planner first at the due date and time at that when it's supposed to be happening. And then from there, you look at what time slots are open. You fill in your lunch, you fill in your walk with your dogs, you fill in, that 15-minute break that you're going to walk around the block and get some exercise, whatever it is, you fill all of that in first. And then when you have your time, the open slots that are left is when you start looking at the other tasks and filling those in. So, maybe you have, like for me, a blog post that's due for a client and there's not really a specific due date on it, but it does have to be done this week. So then I can start looking at the open slots that are open and say, okay, well, that blog post is going to take me 2 hours and I've got 2 hours open on Thursday after my Thursday morning meeting before lunch. So I'm going to put that blog post there and that's when I'm going to do it. And what's been helpful for me is with the paper planner, even though it's only been a few days, is you can see that I've got all this stuff crossed out from Monday through Wednesday. So what was happening to me in Trello is I would do a task and I would just close it when it was done. I'd do it, I'd finish it, and I'd close it, and I'd move on to the next thing. So at the end of the day, I mean, I'd worked hard all day long, and I was like, gosh, I didn't even know what I did all day. I felt like I didn't do enough or whatever because I wasn't seeing what I had gotten done. So it's really helpful for me to be able to see, okay, these things were all on my list this morning and these things were all crossed out today. So like the visual look at the paper with everything crossed out and looking ahead to what I have to get done tomorrow, those things have been helpful for me. And again, it's just been this week that I'm doing it, but I think it's really going to help me because I was really kind of starting to feel like I was spinning my wheels, to be honest. So I think between the Trello, the list of things in Trello with the actual specific dates and times in the planner seemed to be a good combination for me. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I like that system, and I think that's pretty much the way I use Google Calendar for time blocking as well. So yeah, I'm right there with you. I agree that personal and self-care is also super important. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah. Well, and I think, as you think about, the personal stuff, for me, it's always, well, I'll do that after work, or, well, I'll do that on Saturday. Well, again, there's only so much time after work and there's only so much time on Saturday. And, maybe you don't feel like doing that on Saturday or something. So take a half-hour break during a Tuesday that's not as busy and just get it done. I think as you look at the holidays too, you have to kind of, as you're planning your tasks for December or Thanksgiving week or whatever, you have to think about realistically how much you're going to work that week. Are you going to take Thursday and Friday off Thanksgiving week to be with your family? So now is the time to plan for that because it's like planning for a vacation, You know that you're going to be out for 3 days the end of the month. So what can you do extra in the next 2 weeks that you're prepared for that? And the same thing with December holidays, think about, do you need to go gift shopping? Do you need to wrap gifts? Are you wanting to make things for your neighbors? Maybe you don't write, maybe normally you write 3 blog posts a month. Maybe in December, you're only going to write 2 or 1 because it's the holidays. So, I think it gives you, as the business owner, it does give you a little bit of flexibility to say, I'm not going to get as much done in December, and that's okay. But if you plan for it, then it's just less stressful because then you don't feel like you're behind all week when December gets here all month.
I was going to say that same exact thing. If you go into the season with that mindset, then you don't feel like you're failing because you've already said up front, okay, I'm going to do less and that's okay. I'm still going to make progress, but I'm going to also give myself the time and flexibility to spend time with my family and do all those things. And I agree, like it just it starts you off on the right foot and you don't feel like you're failing or behind. That's a great point.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I just want to say thank you, Darcy. Those are my main tips. Like I said, I go through some of this in more detail with some demos and trainings in my group. If anyone's interested, just reach out or ask questions here. I'm in Darcy's group all the time. I love it over here. And so
thank you.
Feel free to reach out.
Yeah, we'll put Rebekah's group link in the comments, and then anybody who's watching, if you guys have any questions about any of the stuff we talked about, it's kind of a crash course on a bunch of different productivity tools. But if you have any questions or anything about any of them, just let us know. We'll both be kind of watching the comments. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I'll put Rebekah's group link in the comments too. She does great tips over in her group as well. So. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, let us know. And thanks so much, Rebekah.
Yeah, thank you, Darcy. Thanks, everyone.
Yep, bye.
Bye.